Hello and welcome to the SciFirst MovieTalk episode. So, in this episode, I will be discussing the 2007 sports comedy movie Balls of Fury, as directed by Robert Ben Garant. So, this movie is all about the sport of ping pong, in rather a tongue-in-cheek kind of way, and stars Dan Fogler as Randy Daytona, who used to be a child ping pong prodigy with a shot at the world title. So, from the very start of this movie, you know it's going to be a film that's not going to take itself too seriously. Not saying anything about the sport of ping pong at all. Let's just say that this isn't a serious take on the sport. Anyway, when Randy was 11, he lost out to the world title after being distracted. His dad, who was actually played by Robert Patrick, was subsequently killed by henchmen of the crime lord Feng, as played by Christopher Walken, after placing a wager on the game. We then fast forward 19 years and we catch up with Randy as a cheap support act in Reno, being introduced by a parrot. Enter, then, FBI agent Ernie Rodriguez, that's it, as played by George Lopez, who offers the chance for Randy to bring down Feng and go undercover by playing ping pong. Turns out, Feng is somewhat of a ping pong fanatic. Randy, having basically been off the competition circuit for so long, is kind of rusty, to say the least, and kind of seeks additional training under the guide of the ever-philosophical Master Wong, as played by James Hong, who just so happens to be Feng's old mentor too. Ultimately, we then have the inevitable showdown between Randy and Feng in an eccentric, no-holds-barred game of ping-pong to the death. So, if I'm honest, based on my memory of this film, which I must admit, the last time I watched this movie was got to have been back in 2007, and so my memory, little bit foggy. It wasn't a film that kind of stood out as exemplary, nor obviously did I actually think it merited a second viewing. Well, not kind of up to the point of watching it again for this review, at any rate. So, anyway, you know, based on my memory of the film, I was basically all set out to panic completely. But after watching it again, I can't do that. However, nor can I actually shout about its greatness either. It was just simply a movie, worth perhaps a watch. It was fun enough at times, and it wasn't too offensive in the main, but otherwise it was just, meh. In terms of the comedic style of the movie, firstly, to say that it's not an out-and-out spoof movie. That's not its style at all. It borrows from a number of films, and particularly The Karate Kid, and many references are certainly made in that regards. The film is really a parody of sorts in this respect to that kind of film genre and that film specifically, and the comedy does try to reflect that, as well as kind of being a sports parody film as well. I did actually watch it with our son, Oliver, who did actually make a comment that really kind of pretty much sums up the film, I think. You know, he asked, when's the comedy going to roll in? That was kind of about halfway through the movie, and all I could reply with, was, it is supposed to have started. It's probably a bit harsh, as you will get a few laughs out of this movie, I'm sure, but it just never really sets off to go anywhere, and most of the comedy is played kind of fairly straight down the line and safe, which I do appreciate. That might actually be preferred by some people. It doesn't outwardly seek to offend anybody with its offerings. Okay, so I will agree that many jokes are actually taken at the expense of a blind man and at some Chinese stereotypes, but none are actually done with too much distastefulness, in my opinion, and all are supposed to be taken with a real kind of little bit of light-hearted fun. They are meant in true jest, and it's not over-the-top Mickey taking for the sake of laughs at another's expense, if you kind of know what I mean. But yeah, in terms of comedy, it never really sets anything on fire. It's not a riot at all. It's simply, yeah, meh, okay. The film also tries to bring in elements of being a spy movie and part of an action movie. But again, never really sets any of these off in any great deal at all. What the movie does actually do quite well, and you can see it in the actors' faces, is that you can see at least the cast had real fun in actually making the movie. Almost to some degree, they wanted it to be a cheesy, corny movie, and you can tell that they even play their parts with that kind of same tongue-in-cheek attitude. Especially Christopher Walken, who plays an excellent role. Now, I'm not saying it's one of his best, but it is one of the standout roles of the movie. He plays it with his usual quirky style, which does actually work quite well with the eccentric nature of the character that is portraying. The cast also includes Maggie Q as Maggie. Yep, original I know. Master Wong's daughter, who actually packs a punch and really kind of forms Randy's love interest. You also have Isha Taylor as Mahogany, Feng's main henchman woman. Not quite sure what the non-genderized form of that word would be. Hench person don't kind of seem to have the same ring to it. But most of the acting is a little over the top at times, but I would certainly say it's mostly overdone, and as can kind of sometimes be in the movies like this, it's not over the top too much. There are not too many cringy moments, and the movie is not overly lecherous. In fact, Maggie Q does put a few people straight on that regard with a few kind of well-placed martial arts moves. It is a simple movie overall. It won't make your head hurt, and I promise. A couple of things I didn't get, but then this would all be part of the comedy, I suppose. One would certainly be that the FBI needed a world-class ping-pong player to infiltrate Feng's organisation. But after 19 years, Randy was by no means the best. I wouldn't even say that he was all that good until the end. And even then. So why the FBI just didn't go with some other Flash player actually on the circuit, goodness knows. The other, and I am kind of being a little bit nitpicky here, and that's, this film has got to be the first I've ever actually seen where the undercover operative's FBI handler is there in plain sight throughout. So, overall, it's a film that tries to convince us that ping pong is a dark underground sport. I can't say that it is or that it isn't, but it's all done very tongue-in-cheek. Unfortunately, the film just kind of fails to deliver on many aspects, and it's just not simply side-splittingly funny and does things, yeah, meh. If you do want a middle-of-the-road comedy that doesn't take itself too seriously, isn't over the top and in any sense, and fairly inoffensive, then this film might be worth a watch for you. So, that brings me to the end of this episode. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please leave a like. Please do hit that subscribe button. But most of all, please do come back to SciFirst MovieTalk for more movie reviews, trailer reactions, and other movie-related content. We'd love to have you back. But yes, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.